Are you a manager who is eager to change the trajectory of your career? I have spent the last 23 years as a Fortune 50 leader learning from other industry leaders how to break free from limiting beliefs and habits. On the Might in Motion podcast, we focus on the 4 M's: motivation, momentum, mindfulness, and might. We bring you leaders from Fortune companies, doctors, and entrepreneurs. Their stories of living their own might in motion will inspire you to create your own action plan and achieve your goals. Welcome to Might in Motion. Today's episode of Might in Motion is brought to you by Pantheon FM, Fortunes Magnified. Pantheon FM is changing the world through entrepreneurship. In this community, you will find everything you need to create, amplify, and monetize your world-changing business. Join us at pantheon.community/register/LAUA. This evening, I am really excited to bring to you Igor Chernetskiy. Igor was born in Ukraine. He grew up in Sacramento, California, and then moved to Spokane, Washington. When he was 15, he started his first business. He's currently the owner of 6 businesses, the father of 4 kids, a husband to a beautiful wife, and is on a mission to change the world to be a better place, one industry at a time. I am so happy to welcome to the Might in Motion stage Igor, and to hear all about how you've become this just chronic entrepreneur, right? Doing some really cool things with some big companies, and learn more about some of your passions. So welcome, Igor. Thank you for joining me this evening.
No, thank you, Mariana, for having me.
It has been a few, we actually met probably about a month, 2 months ago through a mutual friend or acquaintance.
Yeah.
And, it was really great when we connected because we just hit it right off. I had such an ease talking to you. I'm like, oh, I've got to have him when I start doing season 2. So thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about this amazing journey that you've had from starting a business at 15 to where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it starts a little bit earlier because, before starting a business, you have to do something. It starts at probably around 8 years old. I started working. I was working doing, as many people did, mowing the lawn. It was mowing the lawn, and my dad would take me around. He was, manager of multiple apartment complexes. His boss was a landlord to him. He had many properties, and so my dad would take me around on Saturdays, with a lawnmower, and I'd be mowing the lawns, and he'd be able to pay me. And so, I mean, it really started from there. It was the opportunities that I got, and my dad teaching me to take the opportunities I have, because not everybody had the opportunity at 8 years old to go make money. And so,
Right.
I had the opportunities. It was starting from there, and as that progressed, I met people, and I met people along the way that taught me very valuable lessons that progressed me rapidly forward. I mean, it was where at 10, 11 years old, I was working with older gentleman. He was probably around 63, 65 at that time. And we were doing flooring. We were doing hardwood flooring. And I remember him telling me, Igor, don't worry about making money when you're young and before you get married. He's like, worry about learning things. He's like, right now you have no bills, you have nothing on your back to carry. So the biggest thing is worry about learning anything and everything you can. He's like, forget about the money. Not even that. He's like, go pay people to go teach you things right now. This is where it is. And I have to say, getting that repeated to me for a year straight, it really sinks in. That age, it
Yeah.
really sunk in, and I decided, okay, let's do this. I mean, the guy was, it was not a dumb guy. He's a really smart guy. Just the way he built his life, and his kids, grandkids. At that, he already had great grandkids, and the way he set things up and the way he was doing it. And so it's like, I mean, his life, looked good. So what can I learn from him? And through that, it was learning. Okay, what can I learn? I did roofing. My dad taught me how to do roofing. He would just do stuff on the side. He was a painter since he was from Ukraine. He actually went to college for painting professionally. And so he would teach me how to paint. I went jobs with him. And then other jobs that I got to know while doing other jobs, other guys that would take me on, even at like 12, 13 years old, doing tile. I did tile for a number of years. I did sheetrock. I did pretty much all, and it was in construction field. And then we moved up to Spokane, Washington, and I was doing framing for almost 4 years. I did framing, house framing, I did concrete, I did siding, interior work. And so all of that taught me such valuable lessons of work ethic. Because even remember, um, going back to the grandpa that I work with, it was where if I was sick, I didn't
Mhm.
feel like getting up, but it was sick. It was that child sick. Hey, my foot hurts, my head hurts. I didn't want to, and he was, hey, I asked you if you wanted this job before we got started. You said yes. I don't care if you're sick or not. You should have told me,
Yeah.
hey, I'll do stuff except when I get sick. And then we could have discussed that. You said you're going to do it. And so now you do it. You get up and
Mm.
you were sick. I had runny nose. You were coughing and you were working. He's like, if you can cough at home, you can go cough at work. I mean, what does it matter? Go get up. And that's what it was. And so you come and you blow, he's like, go blow your nose and keep on
Yeah.
working. What is it stopping you? What is it going to make it easier? You sitting around doing nothing? It's like, no, at least this way you're sick and making money. Like, you're not making any money being sick, at home.
Obviously pre-COVID.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I mean, cool. COVID ruined many things, but that was it was a good lesson. It was a very, very hard lesson to drill in, but afterwards,
Yeah.
it was until this day, it's actually very, very hard for me to understand the people that work for me that say, I have a headache, I'm not coming into work. I just don't
Right.
get it. I don't understand it. It's just so ingrained in me now. This, hey, you can be sick at home, you can be sick at work, That's it's not like you're not going to do anything. I mean, let's be honest, you're still going to do something at home. So if you can do something at home, you can do something at work. And so this is where it came from. But through that journey of going through those things, and then all the construction,
Hmm.
understanding of how it works, what works, how do you build a house? I mean, just from that definitely helped me. I started making goals and plans.
Yeah.
I had a car before I can drive. I already bought a car. I was able to do it. And after I bought a car, I decided I'm going to start saving for a house. This was at 14 years old. I decided, okay, I'm going to start saving for a house now. And by the time I was 22, 23, I had enough money saved to build my own house. And I actually built my own house. Like, physically, I did the frame. I did all these things. I physically built my own house with my wife. I had my brothers. My dad helped me. But I built the whole thing myself because I knew how to build. Because I
Right.
had already 12, 15 years of doing all these things, and I was able to build my own house. I just need money for material. And it was a multi-million dollar property. It was a big property. It was a house. It was a guest house, beautiful. And it was a lot of, man, you're so lucky. But
Mm.
that's not what it was, because by that time I had a Prius. I didn't have a BMW. I didn't have a
Yeah.
Mercedes, even though I had plenty of money to buy the Mercedes. But it was where I had the plan. It was the goal of, I wanted to have a house. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have kids. I wanted to have a certain amount of money by the time I reached 30. I had goals. And so that kind of pushed me. And through that, what you said, it was about 14, 15. It was about 15 years old that when that company started. And it was me, because again, at 15, I couldn't do it. I couldn't leave. I was a minor. And so my
Right.
dad, he, came, it was a situation where um, he got offered a contract. And I still till this day don't know. And he doesn't know what happened to his previous boss, but they were going to get rid of him. They said,
Hmm.
you're gone. And so they offered it to my dad. Would you want to take on the contract and have everybody work under you as subcontractors? And he didn't even have an email at that time. And so it was coming to me, because I was the IT, I was the geek in the family. It was anytime a phone was broken, computer or something happened, it was, hey Igor, figure
Yeah.
this out. And again, it wasn't that I knew computers. I just knew how to get on Google and on forums and read.
Yeah.
Literally, it was, how do and this is what it was. It was sitting on forums. It was pre-YouTube. There was no YouTube. There was no, it was forums. I was talking to people, talking to friends of, how do you do this? How do you fix this? And then you do it 25 times, you become good
Remember
at
it. Yeah. And like, I love how
it.
you're like, hey, you just Googled it. You just researched it. I have people on my team who do that all the time. Hey, I don't know how to figure out this really high end Excel, formula. And so I just Googled it. And I love it. I love it when somebody comes to the table and instead of being, I don't know how to do it, show me how. I don't know how to do it. I'm going to go figure out how. And you
Mhm.
learn that at such a young age, which is awesome.
Well, it was getting pushed. I have to give it up to my dad. Even at 14, 15, I was 15 years old. And he started, I would take over completely the whole business. He would go on vacation. I had to run it. I had to, you know, break up fights of guys that were my grandfather's age. It was 60
Hmm.
years old. And I had to be there as a 15, 16-year-old. Hey, guys, you can't do this. This is how it's got to be. it really makes you grow up pretty darn fast,
Yeah.
first. And second of all, it makes you realize that just because they're 60 doesn't mean they grow up. And so that I learned really quick, and so because in my head as a child, it was always, they're the adults. I mean, they know
Right.
things, and I'm the kid. Like I learn from adults. I don't teach adults. And then it's like, holy crap, I need to teach these adults how to handle these problems, because
Yeah.
it seems like I have more emotional intelligence than these guys do. And it was a big shock, a big takeaway. But it was at that age, and then it was at 16 where my dad would hand me a bag of tools and say, "Hey, we need to pick up a box truck down in LA, get on a plane and go." And I would get there. I don't know what is what. I mean, yes, he did teach me how to change the oil, what is a
Yeah.
gasket, a hub, and so forth. But I didn't know what the problems. I didn't know how to diagnose. I don't know how to change stuff. But it was, go figure it out. I mean,
Yeah.
you go look it up, go Google it, go do whatever you need to do. It's get this truck back in middle of nowhere. Don't know anybody. Don't know anything, and it really makes your brain start thinking. Okay, what do I do? Because when I see many parents start helping their children, it
Mm-hmm.
hinders them. And I was even talking to my wife, and I told her the worst thing about being a parent is causing pain for your child, but that is the only way they will learn the hard lessons. There
Yeah.
is no other way. There is no, you cannot, even I was talking with a few friends, and I asked them about this. It was like, okay, if I tell you that this sailor, it's what this, like, I'm about to talk about just a gentleman. This is one of the best sailors I know. What
Mm-hmm.
automatically comes to your mind? Comes to mind that, hey, he probably went through quite a few storms. He's weathered a few storms. He knows
Right.
it. You don't call a good sailor the guy that's never been out of the bay. That's not a
Mm-hmm.
sailor. That's
Mm-hmm.
the bay guy. That's the dog guy. I mean, that's not a sailor. And so that's the same thing in life. And that's where, even between me and my siblings, a big thing came into play, where I was thrown on the deep end for most of
Yeah.
the time because I was the oldest boy. I was the second child, but I was the oldest boy between the four of us. And it was always, hey, Igor, go take care of it. Hey, Igor,
Right.
go do this. And then I was actually very angry at my parents. Like, why is it me? Why do I always go
Mhm.
do? Now I actually thank them. I do. I thank my dad especially. I tell him, I really do appreciate. And for him, it wasn't that it was intentional. He just didn't know how to handle some stuff, and other stuff he just needed help. So he just throw me in the mix, and he saw that I would, keep figuring things out, and he would, get take care of stuff. And so with time, it was just like, okay, hey, you've done the last 20 things. You can do this as
You can
well.
figure out this one too. Yeah.
It
And
was, and
I hear, like, when you're talking about, kids, it resonates because I have two kids, and, obviously you've got double that. So more power to you. But I love when I'm like, just like, no, you're going to go be bored. No, you're not going to have the iPad or the TV. It's done, especially because summer's ending over here. Right. So it's go figure out something to do in the backyard,
Mhm. Well, it's
and
not
go.
even that. I'm like, I don't even care what you do. I mean,
Yeah.
there is nothing. And right now, I mean, we've set some very hard rules of, there's Friday night movie night. They know that it's Friday
Yeah.
night. We have movie nights. Other than that, the TV doesn't go on at all. The iPads
Yeah.
don't go on. There is no phone. There's
Yeah.
nothing. There's zero screen time except for the 2-3 hours, and for the one night a week. That's it.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, it was, oh, we're so bored, and now they've learned that that board doesn't just cut it, and you have to go figure it out. And I
You gotta go
see
do
them,
something.
those creative minds and juices start
Yes.
flowing, and I'm like, this is it. This is what I'm talking about. This is what we had to do. This is what I had to do. This is what
Yes.
you had to do. You had to
Yeah.
go outside and take two sticks and pretend it was something.
Yes. And now, like, I go in my backyard, I'm like, I don't know what y'all just built, but it looks cool, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
but it's driven so much creativity.
Mhm.
And then also, like, they play a ton of games, like card games, board games, etc. And so they're learning strategy,
Mhm.
which is really cool because now they outplay us sometimes. And, and it's just because, no, you don't have this easy out.
Mhm.
Oh, there's a chessboard. Okay, figure out how to play chess, right? And it's so neat to be able to see their mind work, that I just hope, you don't know if you've done a good job until they're an adult, right? So you just hope and pray you're doing the right thing.
Yeah,
And
but
there's
even with that, it's, even if you're looking at the statistics and you're looking at the even scientific, evidence of things, we as people are very lazy to the core, and not in a bad way. It's where our body finds the easiest way out for us to
yes.
survive. It's a survival mechanism, but it works the same way with anything. When a child is given something, all the creativity in front of them where they don't have to extract that from themselves, that creativity gets shut off because the brain says, you don't need this. You can just look
Yeah.
at it and it's going to be given to you. And so it's not on them. And anytime a child, goes through the teen years and, the parents say, man, what happened to my child? I say, you happened. You happen to
Mm.
your child. When the child is born, it's a zero. It doesn't
Yes.
know anything. It doesn't know left from right. And anything gets taught is by you or allowed by you. Period.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
it. And you can't, there's nobody else to blame, especially the fathers. I blame the fathers first of off, because that's where the father is supposed to come in. This is where I come in. This is where I put myself. The reason why I took last year off completely from everything, I took a year off to spend time with my kids because I see them losing that. It
Yeah.
was, and then, not worried about, okay, let's leave the money alone. The money I can make, I can make a couple million extra. Well, great. That's not going to bring my kids back. And so let's
Mm-hmm.
work, while they're little, because they are little. It's 8, 6, 2, and 1. It's still little kids. So I
Yeah.
have that time to put into them. And this is something that I'm very adamant about. And even through the push on all these different things that I do, it's still taking time and getting back to, hey, let's go back to this. And on top of that, I decided once every 7 years, I'm going to take the whole year off. I'm going to do it.
That's
I took
good.
that. I took it from a Jim Rohn. He did a talk one time, and he was talking about the biblical principle. It's actually in the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
where it's, they say, hey, once on the 7th year, don't plow, don't let it go. And so if there's a reason that it was said, and I've seen it last year, the amount of things that I was able to do being away. I know this sounds
Mm.
like almost contradictory in terms, but that completely shifted and blew up some of the businesses because I had a clear mind. I was actually looking back 5, 7, 10 years and saying,
Mm-hmm.
over the last decade, where did I go? What did I
Yeah.
do? And where am I going? And
So
so
when
that
you
was a
did
big thing.
that, like you had obviously some extreme amount of trust in your teams. You've built an operation of individuals that you're able to step away for a period of time, which allows you to have even a bigger vision for the future, right? What are things that you've done or that you see really good leaders on your team do for their direct reports to foster that mindset of having ownership and following your vision?
Well, what I've learned in my experience is to foster ownership, they have to first, most of the time, not everybody, it's not a rule, there's exceptions to every rule, but most of the time they actually have to feel ownership. And so
Mhm.
most of the time what that means is they were actually an owner of a business at one point in time. That completely
Yeah.
changed. Every single person at this point in my team, especially in upper management, had a business at some point in time that came back, that decided that the stress, the headache, the risk is not worth it. So we're willing to work under somebody, but they understand all that. And so when I come to them and I ask them, hey, um, Leon, give me an update, explain to me this, he takes it as if he was the owner. And he gives me
Mhm.
that and he takes that to me because he was an owner. And so he understands those struggles and it's real to him. It's not I'm trying to imagine ownership. No, no, no. I felt this
Yeah.
ownership. And so that was the very, very big thing that I saw. But aside from that, I always tell my people, if I can't trust you even 1%, I will not work with you. So it's
Mhm.
100% trust. It is absolutely 100% trust in that. There's no matter what. The way I phrase it to my team is, I don't want to watch my back. That's why I have you for. You watch my
Right.
back. And if you watch my back, I can look forward. I can have that vision. I can start planning for the future. Because if I'm looking back, I can't look forward.
Correct. Correct. I love
So
that. I mean, it has a little bit of a military undertone, right? Like, and but I think that resonates with a lot of people because everybody wants somebody that has their back. They want to know that their leader is going to support them. If they go out on a limb, they make a decision. Was it right or wrong? They made a decision, right? What lesson did you learn if it was wrong? How do we resolve that lesson? Right. And
well,
so
it's
when you
not
can
even
create the
that.
relationships, that's so helpful.
That I would say, and I would add, the only thing I would add to that is, let them make those
Yes.
mistakes. The only
Yes.
thing is, what I do, I really liked how one analogy was put on parenting, and I try to take that into
Mhm.
business is, don't be the lines, be the guardrail.
Mm-hmm.
Don't, so the line, let them go off the line, let them go off the shoulder, but be the
Yeah.
guardrail before they go off the cliff.
Yes.
That's where it's got to be. Those decisions, those business decisions where that one decision can shut down the company. That's when you step in. You're like, oh,
Right.
okay, now we're gonna stop. Okay, and then I'll explain it to them. Here's the reasons why, and they're like, oh my goodness, I am so sorry. I'm like,
Yeah.
I know you are, but like, I just had to step in. There's no more leash there. This is it.
Right. Right. But I love how you correlate it to, parenting, right? Of not that you're a parent to your employees, right? But when you create that environment where you have that safety net of like, hey, I'm here for you. To your point, I'm the guardrail. You start really seeing people blossom. And I think sometimes new managers, people who are and maybe they haven't owned a company before, but they're growing up within a company and they haven't had direct reports. I think that's where a lot of people struggle of, I'm now no longer an individual contributor, right? I'm now a manager of people or a manager of managers, and I'm afraid to like relinquish some of that control, to move from that line to the guardrail.
Well, what I would say, especially in big organization, as some of my organizations are growing too, what I
Mm-hmm.
focus on is to explain to them that you're not managing people. Forget about managing people. You're managing emotions. That's what you do. Start
Yes.
managing emotions of those people. How can they be? If they're happy, they will do so much more. If they're excited, they'll do even more. If they're intrigued, they'll push. So give that to them.
Yeah.
What can you do to give that to them? Forget about trying to figure out what they need to do and what they don't need to do. Most people
Mm-mm.
know that. That's not something you need to teach. Manage the emotion side of that. And this is something where I've learned from my mentors, with Stephen Shea and Darren Hardy and some of these guys, where like that's a big thing where I had to, over the last couple of years, grow significantly. Where okay, no, I'm not managing the people. The people manage themselves. That's not, I don't even touch that. Let's
Yep.
manage the emotion inside the company, inside these people. And then whenever they come in, it's, exactly what you said. It's
Right.
where, especially the new guys, just like you said, that is where the biggest thing. And I'll drill deep into it. And hey, how is everybody doing? And I'll tell, how are you
Mm-hmm.
doing? Well, we're doing this and this. No.
Yeah.
How are you
You're
doing?
doing. Yes.
Well, I'm doing okay. Well, how's the wife? How's the kids? And then,
Mm-hmm.
okay, they step back a little bit. No, the wife is good. That she had so and so, and the kids so and so. Okay, well, that's good. And then I see them taking a little bit easier breath, and they're
Yes.
now their way. It's like, okay, the work is the work. We'll deal with that. Let's deal with you first. Let's see how are you doing. But it does come from the top, and just like
Mm-hmm.
I've heard, big leader industry, they would say, where why does the CEO get paid millions of dollars? Because it takes one person to absolutely corrupt and kill an organization, and it takes one person to rebuild and pick it up.
Yeah.
One person at the top. It's the one at the top. Yes, it will be the same way as a very big organization. It will flow through segments of the company, and it could be one segment the company is very strong. Why? Because the leader of that segment is very strong, and
It's
another
strong.
one will
Yeah.
fall. And so this is kind of where it is. And what I look at right now during the hiring process, how can I get the strongest leader for it? If I can get
Yeah.
a very strong leader, he will make sure that everything else is good and strong. And that is a hard thing to deal with. I mean, that's easy to say. That is one of the
Harder to
hardest.
do. And it's funny because you were talking about it's all about emotions and managing emotion. In the back of my head, I'm like, you own multiple trucking companies. Emotion is the number one thing in shipping. So
It is.
more power to you on that.
Yeah,
Now,
everything's an emotion.
oh, everything. And it's a people business. It's
Mhm.
not really about, I mean, you need the truck, you need the driver, but at the end of the day, it's a people business. So it's how are you supporting those truck drivers so they provide the best customer service for the people that they're interacting on the front line, because you're not interacting with those people on the front, they are. And so it all trickles down, right? So if you're helping your leader, your direct reports, and they're going all the way down the line, when it gets to those truck drivers and who's managing that fleet and who's calling them every day and making sure they're on the road and making sure they have what they need and they're safe and
Mhm.
all that stuff, it translates to that experience that they provide when they get to that inbound window, or wherever they're dropping a load, etc. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, 100%, 100%. I agree. And literally just this morning, I was because we have chats like Telegram chats and Viber chats within for our truckers, and so even on there, they were, and that's kind of where it gets me most excited when they go out and they're already talking to each other and they're encouraging each other
Yes.
because they see it from the managers, they see it from me, and I would jump in, and I even jumped in and say, hey. It was Chris. I'm like, Chris, good job. And I'm proud of you. This is it. And yeah, I was a joke. I'm like, hey, make sure to tell me where to send the marketing check. But I'm like, in all seriousness though, like this is what it is. This is what we're
Right.
doing here. But this is it. And you're 100% right. We do what we need to do, but they already see that on the ground. And
That's
the only
right.
thing is for me and for all the managers is to keep fostering that.
Right. Right. So I know we've got a little bit of time left, and I really want to touch on hope in action, which is one of your passion initiatives you've got going on right now, along with a development group that you have in the Ukraine. So can you share with the audience what you're doing on the ground in the Ukraine?
Yes, absolutely. So, to all the audiences, I was born in Ukraine. So I was born in Ukraine. Then my parents moved us here to the U.S. to Sacramento. As you've said, I grew up in Sacramento and then Spokane. But that is really where my heart is.
Mhm.
I've been there many times to Ukraine and back prior to the war, and I don't mean the hot phase of wars prior to 2014, because that's when really the war started in Crimea, when they decided to come in, take over. But I've been there. I've been to Crimea. I've been to
Mhm.
Yalta. I've been to to every part of Ukraine, and it took away my heart. I mean, it's so gorgeous. There's so many things to be done, said about it. So it became a mission for my life: is how can I make Ukraine the best country in Europe? How can I make it a go-to
Mhm.
destination? It is the biggest country of Europe by land size. I don't know if you know that. It's the biggest, and where it has everything from the mountains to the
Mhm.
beaches to the fields. It has everything you need. And so it's been a big passion of mine. And so I started working um, prior to the war. We launched a construction development company there in Ukraine to start changing the infrastructure from within to see, okay, how can we do it better? Growing up here in the U.S. has so many great things, especially in matters of infrastructure, ideas, understandings, collaboration. There's so many good things, and I do believe that God brought me here, my parents here, to be able to learn, understand all this, to then go back and try to do something. It's
Right.
easier to sit down and say, it's great here, that's not my problem. And I've seen many people do that. And I don't blame them really, because it's not for everybody. Not everybody can. But for me, it's been that fire has been burning, it hasn't been stopping. So I said, okay, I'm going to start doing something. And so we launched that. We started doing the first planning. We bought the land. It was actually right outside of Kiev. That there was nothing built there, but that land was bombed even during the first hot phases of last year. So there was bombing going on, but we didn't build anything. We decided to build in southwest Ukraine. It's a city called Chernetskiy. It's right
Mhm.
next to the Romanian border. So that's where we built already. We built multiple projects down there. We sold those. We're building next projects. We're doing projects for in the nonprofit sector that I helped launch. What you said, Hope in Action. That was the nonprofit that we launched. There was a reason for that name. It's not
Mhm.
hope in words, it's hope in action. There has to be action. When there's action, then the hope becomes, yes, there's hope. If you all you do is talk, sooner or later
Nothing
that hope
happens.
dies.
Mhm.
It dies, nothing is. And so it was that hope in action. And the cool thing about it, when you it's translated in Ukrainian,
Mhm.
it sounds like Nadia в дії. It rhymes. It's really really cool. Where
Yeah.
it's that hope in action. It's not only in action, it's that through action, almost kind of what it is. It's that hope through action. And so through that action that we're doing, and through the nonprofit, we actually bought multiple vans that we launched. That we were my uncle and other guys that my cousin. I still have family out there that they are there. That they would go up to the front lines to Kharkiv, Kherson,
Mhm.
Bakhmut, and bring all the women, children, guide everybody out of there into Poland, to Romania, to
Mhm.
get them out. They were driving 24 hours a day for weeks, and I would tell them, "You're going to kill yourself." And all that I would get back is people are getting killed.
Yeah.
That's not a I'm going to people are getting killed, and every time we don't go back here because I slept, people died. And so they
Yeah.
wouldn't stop, and it got worried, and then I had to just tell them, hey, if you don't go to sleep, you're gonna kill somebody on the road. This is not. So they would take mini naps, they'd get going, but it was weeks, it was months. They
Yeah.
would just keep bringing people out. So that was a big thing that we started, we did there. And then through some of the stuff we're doing now is through the construction development company that we're doing there right now, is what we're pulling resources then from that to be able to help the nonprofit sector as well. There's actually one house right now that I just spoke with a good friend of mine that they started building, but it looks like they're gonna need some help. That I just talked to my guys out there. I'm like, hey, get a hold of them. Let's see. It was a pasture that everything hit about 150 hectares of land, and when in Kherson, when that dam broke, it got flooded. His whole house destroyed, and he was the guy that helped all the local people there. He would bring out, he'd give them wheat, he'd give them flour, he'd give them all the help out there. And he's like, it's all gone. So he's like, what can we do to help? And like, okay, we're gonna rebuild. Great, let's rebuild. Let's do that. So again, this is just the beginning of it. This is the very, very beginning stages. For me, I want this to be a start to something great. It's going to be through all these companies that I do, that I own, we work through. Okay, what can I do? Where can I bring in? That brings in the finances, the partnerships that we foster through all our customers that we sign on. It's not just a, hey, we're giving you loads. Hey, we're going to pay you money. We're right now, I think it's almost for every load we're doing $1 that we're sending out there, that I'm doing, that I'm bringing out and I'm sending there to be able to start that process. And for me, that I hated biggest thing, because I've been to 53 countries already. I've been to a lot of African countries, and I've seen
Yeah.
the insane corruption where you send money and then you come and the pastor has a 4-story house with the
Mm.
guarded fence and dogs, and there's nothing there. And I'm like, really, this is it? It
Right.
drove me nuts. That is the worst thing for me. If you're just doing whatever you are, a Ponzi scheme on the side, I don't care. But if you're taking people from charitable donations, that people are their hard-earned money to make
Yes.
something happen, that just boils my blood. And so for that, where okay, I want boots on the ground, I want something that I can control and see 100%. I go there, I'm a dual citizen, I'm a Ukrainian US citizen. So when
Hmm.
I come in, I look at from the US side of accuracy, accountability, productivity, efficiency, but then I also look at from the Ukrainian side, okay, what can we do here that will actually help? Because a lot of
Right.
things I will see that there is good intentions, but they don't know where to help, and then they just stop altogether.
Right.
And so this is where, okay, we can do this. This is already happening. This is already doing. So let's do this. I know there's a couple of organization that I've partnered with and I talked to, like Heroes of Ukraine. They did a
Hmm.
lot of work. They send over $50 million out there, but more for the army to be able to help that, to get all those soldiers, just because it was so much needed, and they got that. And I was glad I partnered and I was able to help there. But now it's all the people there that do not have any hope, and this is
Right.
where we come in, give them the hope in action, give the action, give them the hope to say, no, no, not everything is lost. We can
Right.
still have a home. I can still rebuild. This will still go, regardless of how this war turns out. Again, I don't want to get into politics and all of it, because there is no black and white, no matter what
Never
I've been
has been,
told.
never will be,
And
right?
so,
Yeah.
war, it's even go back to the philosophy books. War is,
Hmm.
is written by the victors. The
Yeah.
victor gets to decide how the war was. It's where a lot of times I remember my dad said, "There's your story, my story, and the story."
Yeah.
And so there's always the story aside from your story and my story. And this is what's happening now too. It's never just there's one victim, there's many victims. And
Right.
so this is where I don't want to pick through and say just because one, no, no, there's victims, actual victims, let's help them. Let's give them
Right.
that hope. So that is something it's very passionate about. This is something where I plan to, as soon as the war is over, to move there for a period of time, even to help build that and go there. So to, again, I don't want to be one of those people that just talks. I would like to
Right.
put and do something. And like I was saying earlier, I'm going there next week. I'm going there next week to sign off on a few legal documents, to go through over some stuff with my team about planning out this year and the beginning of next year. What else are we going to do? How are we going to be able to attack some of the stuff that we started already, so we can give that to an end. So that is something that it's still war. I mean, it didn't stop. I can't even fly to Ukraine. I'm actually flying to Romania and then driving
Right.
over to Ukraine. But I'm going. I don't want it to be stopped. I don't want it to give that excuse of, well, it's war. It is. And for everybody that is afraid, I don't blame them. I don't, because like I said, and I'll repeat again, it's not for everybody.
Right.
But if I can and I don't, I will blame myself, and I can't.
Right.
And so this is where I will, and I will do, and I'll keep doing it until I reach my goal.
Right.
And to be honest, I've talked to a few people, and where they're looking, they're asking on a 6 month a year. I'm
Hmm.
thinking about 80 years, about 150 years. That's where my mind goes. Okay, I can start the process that my kids can continue, but I started
Hmm.
the process, and I know that even in 150 years, it will end up great. We started it. They'll, even if I won't be alive to see it, I'm okay with that. I did everything I can, and so that
Right.
my kids, when I pass away, they can say that I'm proud of my dad. I'm proud of
Right.
what we did, and that is the biggest thing. I can stand in front of God and say I did everything I can. I can stand in front of my friends and say everything we can possibly do, we did. Here we are, and then our conscience is clean to this world. We left this world a better place than we came into it, at least from where we are.
Hmm.
Again, we can sit here and cry about how everything is bad and everything else, but what are we doing about it? What am I doing? What are you doing about it? Again, even through this, what you're starting here and what you're doing on the podcast, you're at least trying to have this conversation, bring this out. And this is why I came on. I respect that. Where again, if it's just, let's do something, let's
Right.
get that, whatever you can do. And all
Yeah.
of us can do something. And if all of us did something, we'd make a lot more changes than we do now.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, I love everything you just said, and you're following a not it's just a personal passion. Like, you're following a mission, and it's a mission that you've aligned with, like, spiritually, and like, so you're taking it all the way. And I think that's really, really impressive. If people want to follow like your journey, I know I'll kind of share here. uh we've got like some of your websites for your companies, like Victory Transport and Drive for Victory and Cargo West. But if people want to follow what you're doing with Hope in Action, and I know you've got a website coming, and it should be hopeinaction.com once it's ready to go. But can they follow that story on LinkedIn, or what's sort of the best way for people to connect with you if they're like, hey man, I'm totally in alignment with what Igor's doing, and I want to help. I want to help. What's the best way for people to reach you to be able to do that?
So I've been out of Instagram for almost 4 years, and actually just this last week, I decided that's where I'm going to start that first journey, showing people the journey. Because
Yeah.
beforehand, I was always, I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to just get it. I realize I can't do this myself. There's
Yeah.
no way. I need help, and so in just dialing down my ego, my it is. So okay, let's bring people, because there are people that do want to help, and so again, if I don't give them opportunity, that's on me, that's not on them. And so I do. So it's going to be on Instagram. It's just my last name, Chernetskiy. And so
Okay.
it's the Instagram. And then from then on, I am planning to launch a YouTube channel. So I'll be posting on my Instagram channel from there. So not only have the pictures, get some videos from, when I am out there in Ukraine, when I am in, we have a agriculture and farming company that I own with partners down in Bolivia that we're doing, that is part of the whole mission as well. We have cattle, we have pigs, we have growing out there. So it's something we can do with the transportation sector that we're covering here in the U.S., the construction sector that we're covering there in Ukraine. So all this will be part of that journey that I will
Yeah.
be posting. I'll be posting more. And to be honest, I got a little bit out of the whole Instagram. I got a lot of hate, and it was just during the period of time where there's just overwhelming. And so I decided to
Yeah.
just get out completely and just not post, not do anything. And I'm back because I don't want that to stop the good people that want to do something. The haters are going to hate. And
Yep.
the coolest thing that I've learned over the last couple of years through my journey is, if you're not getting hate, you're just not doing enough. And so,
Yeah.
that is the biggest thing. Like, the more hate I get, then that fuels me. It means I'm doing something right. That means I'm actually pushing forward. And so this is where I am going to be posting on there. Whoever
Awesome.
wants to, more than happy. Follow my journey. I would love to get even insights from a lot of you guys that know more on some of these things than I do, to be able to not make mistakes maybe that I would have
Right.
otherwise.
Right. No, that's awesome. And I'll make sure that I get your handle correct and your YouTube channel. Once you got it set up, we'll get it added to the show notes, even if that happens after we post this podcast, because I want to make sure as people come back and listen that they know that they have a way to reach out to you. Because to your point, it isn't a 6-month initiative. This is going to be decades, if not 100 years of rebuilding in that area. And so definitely, a great opportunity. So I do want to say, hey, thank you so much for joining me, Igor, on this episode. Some key takeaways I took down were, worry about learning. Don't worry about like how much money and all that, but worry about learning. And you can carry that throughout your entire career, not just at the beginning. Your word is important. So if you say you're going to be there, make sure you're there. Make sure that you're able to be living with that integrity. You talked a lot about planning leads to your luck. So when people maybe are like, oh man, you were so lucky to have a house at 22. No, that was a decade or more of planning that allowed you to get there. And so you can plan your way to good luck, and then enable ownership at all levels within an organization. So those managers that are out there, you've got to enable ownership with your team, and having those guardrails in place are important, but allow people to kind of swerve between the lines a little bit. I love that. Thank you again, Igor, for joining us tonight. I really appreciate your time. It meant so much to me. It was a great message, a great story, and I know it'll resonate with the audience. So thank you so, so much.
No, thank you, Mariana. It was a pleasure. It was awesome. I loved it.
Thank you for tuning into Might in Motion. If you learned something about motivation, momentum, mindfulness, or might, please like, comment, and share. Thank you.